And that's the story about how Club Chalamet got into a fight in SPF protective clothing with a non-binary Parisian over an actor who has been famous for 7 months. Now that my life is finally calming down a little bit, I can be more active online, and upon my return to the internet, among the sea of various discourse and controversies, there was one that stood out to me to the point where I wanted to make a video about it. And that was when two heated Rivalry fans, some may say stalkers, I disagree, I don't think we need to go that far, but you know, they call each other stalkers. Basically, these two duked it out at Paris Fashion Week for the greater good of protecting baby boy Connor's story, who has yet to realize that either person in this fight even exists. Which goes to show that maybe the real heated rivalry was the fans who fight each other along the way. Basically, the situation involved a person named Simone Cromer, who is infamously known as the person behind the Club Chalamet fan account. If you don't know what that is, I will explain the lore to you in a little bit. Basically, this person shared that she got into a physical altercation outside a Paris hotel while fans were waiting for Connor's story, who is one of the breakout actors from Heated Rivalry, to which that person that had jumped her tweeted and said, "Yeah, that was me. Pow, pow." And then that person went into detail about fighting her and was even live tweeting the fact that they saw her and was talking to other people about what they should do before the confrontation even happened. And so there's literally evidence that they were of the mind that there was going to be some kind of confrontation. In this video, I'm going to break down what happened and then give context to the lore around Club Chalamet and then tie this to a broader discussion about parasocial relationships and fandoms. And usually, you know, when we see these fights happen, it usually exists within the corners of the internet, but this is one of the rare times that I've seen conflicts play out in person among fans. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what Heated Rivalry is, it blew up as a sports romance TV show and the best-selling novel that it's based on, which follows two professional ice hockey players who maintain a secret long-term romantic relationship while playing for rival teams. That's actually why I think Heated Rivalry is the most relevant example of this phenomenon of like parasocial fandoms can get quite toxic, because not only did the show blow up so much within the past year, I think it is specifically because it's about hot men banging each other that it elicits a specific type of fandom. I have friends who are actually huge fans of the series, but they had to mute the title and the actors' names on social media because they can't stand the fandom that comes out of it. So I'll talk more about their specific fandom later on. It's still a really good show though. You can watch it on HBO Max. You can check out my reaction to it on YouTube. You can go to any bookstore and find the books there too. And you can listen to the audiobooks with platforms like Audible, which is the sponsor of today's video. If you are a Prime member, you can get 3 months of Audible completely free. But if you are a non-Prime member like I am, or if you had like previously subscribed but now your free trial is over, you can actually go back to it again, where you can get a deal for $0.99 per month for 3 months. 3 months of Audible Standard would typically be $26.97. But now it's free for Prime members, or $3 for the rest of us. You get access to 1 premium title per month from the full Audible catalog. There's also a special deal going on until July 5th, where you can get a bonus $20 credit towards any title. And that credit applies to whether you're a Prime member or a non-Prime member like me. So go ahead and download, and you can listen to my book, The Secret World of Briar on audiobook, or check out any other fantastic audiobooks out there. Most recently, I listened to Strangers, which is a memoir that came out this year. Absolutely gagged me. I probably will make a separate video about that later on. The Audible Standard renews at $8.99 a month. But again, you can cancel anytime before a renewal with no penalty. Now let's get into the tea of what happened. So here's the situation. There is a beautiful, allegedly gay man out there named Connor Story, and he was one of the breakout stars of Heated Rivalry. He is also one of the most anticipated guests at the fashion presentations that are going on. There was recently Paris Fashion Week. Despite the heat wave that is happening right now in Paris, there have been fans and paparazzi lining up for hours outside of his hotel just to get a glance at him for a few seconds. But there was an incident that happened where he departed from his hotel to go to a fashion fashion show, and then the power of stan culture erupted into violence. I mean, I don't think it was really that violent. I don't think anybody got hurt, but there's definitely some kind of like pearl clutching going on. The woman that is at the center of all of this is the person behind the fan account Club Chalamet. She has since retired it because she's now moved on to Connor's story, but she is infamous on the internet because she's a 59-year-old woman, and I think people were like kind of surprised that the person who has been like following Timothy Chalamet through all of these events and like tweeting obsessively about him is not a teenage girl, but actually a 59-year-old woman. This is a black woman too, and I think the fact that maybe she's like older than people would expect and that she's black adds to another like sense of voyeurism that people have with her. Unfortunately, a lot of online fandoms fall into the traps of misogyny and racism, and she certainly deals with that. What's ironic though is that she also perpetuates misogyny and racism herself, but we will get into all of that later. Let me just talk about this situation that happened. I'm going to read her tweet because not only will it illustrate, at least from her point of view, what happened, but it will also give some insight to maybe why people like to follow her in the first place, because she certainly has a way with words. Because the person that allegedly attacked her uses they, them pronouns, I'm going to refer to them by those pronouns. Even though Simone's tweets misgenders that person, I'm just going to stick to their actual pronouns that they use. So anyway, this is what Simone said. Do you know this person? They assaulted me outside of Hotel Maurice this afternoon as over 100 or so fans gathered in sections along the main entrance waiting for Connor's story to exit to attend the YSL show tonight in Paris. Prior to them assaulting me, I need to give you context. My trip to Paris was booked a year in advance to coordinate with my family from Michigan being in Paris this week. I have a ridiculously full and fun itinerary as I have shared some of my trip with you all thus far. Today, the first half was in Giverny to tour Claude Monet's home and famous garden in Lily Pond. I wasn't sure I would even be back in Paris in time to go to his hotel for a look-see. Thankfully, my tour bus arrived back in Paris a little after 3 p.m. and that's when I decided to give it a shot to go to the hotel and see what's up. I arrived at about 3:25 as I only had 3 metro stops to the hotel, and because I'm a California girl and I wasn't sure in Monet's gardens under this brutal sun and heat wave, I wore SPF protective clothing in the form of a sun cap, my sunglasses, and an SPF facial mask to protect my skin from the sun. So yeah, I looked like a mummy, but I don't care. I'm not getting sunburn and skin cancer, plus my dermatologist insists I protect myself. So I looked a bit incognito, I get that, but by the time I arrived at the hotel, all the shaded parts had people gathered there, and I, along with others, had to stand in the sunny part of the hotel entrance for 2 hours. Not fun at all, but I was SPF protected. Now here's the gnarly part. I noticed a particular person looking at me as if they knew who I was. I started getting nervous, but I ignored it. They kept looking at me, telling other people about me, and they looked back at me and smirked. Then they went to the other side of the entryway queue to tell people about me because even they started to look at me. I was feeling extremely uncomfortable and unwelcome, but I just stood by the sun, baking under the sun, and just waiting like everyone else. I got the sense that however this afternoon was going to pan out, it was not going to be a fun adventure. What started to kick things off was the crowd control measures and how the hotel security was telling everyone to step back and to clear the pathway. But in doing so, they navigated the section the crazy person was in further back, and thus allowing the section I was standing in to logistically be in a better photographic advantage. I'm sure this pissed them off, especially as more and more people joined the crowd. Okay, so finally around 5:10ish, the crowd started to swell up closer to the entryway as people were coming out. As I recall, I was moving along with everyone else and trying to maintain whatever visual advantage I could muster, as was everyone else. Next thing I feel is someone grabbing my backpack with such force that I almost lost my footing. I thought it was a mistake, but it really did feel like someone was forcefully pulling me back out of anger, like WTF is going on. I turn around and it's them. They glared at me and said, "I know who you are. I know who you are, bitch. You bitch." And they tried to remove my fucking dermatologist recommended fucking SPF mask from my fucking face, and I moved their hand away. What the actual fuck? I was truly flabbergasted. I remember telling them to don't fucking touch me again. They called me a bitch again. That's when I took their Manson family recruitment photo. Then I promptly called them the C word. Then they shut up and I turned around to look out for Connor. They proceeded to tell everyone within earshot that I'm a stalker, like a fucking town crier. All that was missing was a bell. I told them that I'm not a stalker. They said, "I know what you are." Other ladies close by was telling them to chill the fuck out. Now's not the time for this shit. So in the next few moments, they proceeded to be much more annoying and animated in this tight space. And I know they were trying to get under my skin and I ignored it. Connor came out and I knew by the security formation he wasn't going to sign anything, and that's perfectly fine. I got a good shot of him and I wanted to get the hell out. After he got into the car with James, his stylist, the crazy stood right in front of me and had a defensive stand in such a way that they deliberately blocked me. As people were pushing, trying to get pics and video, I was pushed up against them as I was also desperately trying to get out of there, but they went feral and pushed back at me and we had an embarrassing brief scuffle. It was humiliating. All I wanted to do was leave after standing there for over 2 hours and being gawked at, assaulted, verbally harassed, and them trying to remove my mask. I need to know who this person is because they scared me. I don't want nothing to do with them. I just want to block them on X and Instagram. Just give me their username. That's all I want. I'm on vacation in Paris, and the last thing I ever wanted was an encounter with a mad loon from this toxic community. I really need a break from this because people are so eager to embrace this lie of calling me a stalker. I'm too busy for such a degrading activity. It insulted my intelligence. I regret not walking away after realizing that quite a few people waiting at a hotel having policed the fandom so much so online that they are policing it in the real world. I'm going to continue to enjoy my holiday as I have a packed itinerary, but the event at the hotel seriously unnerved me. To be attacked by a complete stranger because I dared to be at the hotel as a fluke does not sit well with me at all, and I have to give serious consideration about how I proceed in being a small part of the fandom that's focused on Connor. No one should ever have to experience what I went through tonight, and the sooner this person is ID'd, the sooner other people can protect themselves by blocking this person and not engaging with them. Later, after this person who verbally harassed Simone was identified, more specifically because they identified themselves by quote tweeting her, Simone followed up with this tweet. My final word on this is to show you all what type of person this is. As I went on a blocking spree this evening, someone shared this with me. This person instigated the assault against me. Assaulting someone doesn't equate to an ass beating, as some of you are enjoying creating a new narrative, but I also think it's important to share their quote tweet because it's not only a damn lie, but it's evidence of their state of mind and their supporters. Lying has become so easy and commonplace in this community that people become immune to how dangerous and damaging it is to others to spread elaborate lies. And so insulting, but this is what is part of this community. They don't even address the facts I presented, they just added a new lie. Disgusting and typical. The screenshot that they shared is the quote tweet from this person. Their Twitter name literally says Guard Dog Ilya Truther. They had tweeted Club Chalamet's original tweet and said, "Hi babe, smiley face, just stopped you from running towards Connor and assaulting him. Security can back me up, so can many fans." Alright, now that we know Miss Club Chalamet's side of the story, now let's get to the other person's perspective. So before Club Chalamet had even tweeted about this other person actually posted their own version earlier that day by live tweeting. While they were waiting outside of the hotel to see Connor's story, they tweeted, "Fuck, Club Chalamet is here. The fuck do I do?" Other people in the fandom replied with things like, "Tackle her, question mark, question mark, question mark," to which they said, "And get locked up before Connor comes out." They also retweeted what other people were saying, like, "What do you mean Club Chalamet is there? Oh my god, protect my sunshine right now." Like, someone do something. Like, call the security. I'm not joking. So already there were people like unsettled by Club Chalamet's presence. A few moments later, this person quote tweets their original tweet and says, "So, just had a fight with Club Chalamet. Story time tomorrow." They did indeed post a story time, and it was several tweets long and a very long thread. I actually did get to skim a little bit of it when they had first tweeted it, but unfortunately they have privated their account since then. Well, maybe it's not unfortunate. I'm sure they're dealing with a lot of BS right now, but from what I remember and from what currently still exists on the internet, this person had been there since early morning and had a first line spot that they had earned by staying all day. And even before Club Chalamet arrived, they already knew who she was, and that was actually why they were so afraid for Connor's Story's safety, because according to them, she is well known in fan spaces, especially because she's a danger and a security risk to the celebrities she targets. Cromer had allegedly been targeting Connor for weeks by making weird tweets about his personal life and friendships, making up stuff she couldn't possibly know for sure, and the fandom had been bracing for her to show up in person. There weren't many 60-year-old women there in the first place, so she kind of stood out. We'd been expecting she might show up at some point. While everyone had dressed up hoping for a selfie, Cromer had arrived in a mask, hat, and full-length clothing in a heat wave. That's enough to stand out like a sore thumb anyway. This was like a relief that security was there because they were standing directly in front of her when Connor came out. Some could say maybe that was on purpose because allegedly they know about Club Chalamet, and so they know to kind of like be in between to make sure that like she doesn't do anything. And so the day was already really tough. You're standing in hours under direct sun. The crowd is getting restless. From what I heard about people in Paris, they do not use deodorant, so it is going to be a tough time environmentally. People are already on edge. And then Connor came out, the energy shifted immediately. Mika says Connor had just come out looking good. It was a frenzy. That's when Simone allegedly ran at him, not walked, but ran, cutting directly through the crowd toward him as he was leaving the hotel. Mika says something in my head panicked. Oh, she's gonna do something now. She had been doing nothing all day, but maybe she had been biding her time and now was her moment. Their body moved before they could think. They grabbed Simone to stop her, got in front of her, and security reached them happened fast. It was over in seconds. Afterward, fan accounts tagged Mika Don't You Dare, thanking them for intervening. And that's the story about how Club Chalamet got into a fight in SPF protective clothing with a non-binary Parisian over an actor who has been famous for 7 months. The thing about Club Chalamet is that based on what I have tried to pull together for this video, she does have a history of being a weirdo and a misogynist and a Zionist, and she has tons of other red flags about her. So I can understand, you know, like people in fandoms being very alert and disturbed by her joining your fandom. I do think that part of that protectiveness over that actor is like another form of like parasocial feelings though, where you feel like you gotta protect that person instead of just like any of the other security guards that are doing their job. But I will have to say, even though Club Chalamet has tweeted things that I personally find very reprehensible, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, from what I have looked up online to try to put together this video, nowhere did I find a history of violence from this 59-year-old Black woman. There has been no indication that she was ever going to assault an actor in a crowd of people who are much younger and probably more fit than her, and also who are surrounded by security guards. So really, when you just look at this situation, this is a person who attacked her unprovoked. The only example I could find of her crossing physical boundaries was when she was at an event with Timothée Chalamet, and you can see in this video that when he got close to her, she grabbed him by the neck to take a photo, and there's a hand that comes over from the right side of the video. I think that might be one of the security guards coming in to remove her arm. It still doesn't really indicate that she is a physical threat though, and if she were a physical threat, it's better to let the security guards handle the situation. If she were a dangerous individual, it actually might have been more dangerous for another person who's not a security guard to get involved with her in the first place, or try to like provoke her or escalate to violence. So whether she was like actually running to counter story or trying to do anything to him, it escalated it unnecessarily either way. And again, I think that this desire to protect this person, this baby boy Connor Story, this golden retriever baby boy, I think it just lends to another form of parasocial behavior where, you know, I think a lot of times people kind of baby the two actors of heated rivalry, because that's like a thing when like two men are in a gay relationship in a very popular media to watch. It's easy for fans to kind of act like they are these sweet, pure cinnamon rolls, but in actuality, they are grown adult men who have a team of security guards. They don't need people in their early 20s to be throwing hands in defense of them. Really, like these two individuals involved in this altercation, you could argue are like two sides of the same coin. And there's a popular Tumblr post that was frequently shared among people like gawking at this situation, which is not to be insensitive, but some of the Salem witch trials were so funny. Bitches like, I saw her at the Devil's Sacrament. Girl, what were you doing at the Devil's Sacrament? Both the people involved in this fight were people that you could argue are displaying unsafe behavior. But it's ironic that this non-binary Parisian was saying that Club Chalamet is suspicious when really all she did was just stand outside of a hotel for hours waiting for Connor's story. The Parisian was doing the exact same thing, waiting under the sun for hours for Connor's story to step out just so that you can get a glimpse of this person. And as much as people in the heated rivalry fandom are denouncing Club Chalamet for being obsessive or following him or whatever, and also emphasizing her age too, as if that adds to the creepiness factor, the gag is many of them would be like Club Chalamet herself. Just give or take a couple of years and they will also be a 59-year-old person waiting for hours for an actor to show up for a few seconds. The main difference is that Club Chalamet happens to be born a few decades before these younger fans, and Club Chalamet happens to have the resources and wealth to justify flying to all of these events and showing up to see Timothée Chalamet, Connor Story, whoever. She has the resources, many other people don't, but if they did have the resources, we would have plenty of Club Chalamets out here. Something that the non-binary Parisian had said before they had privated their account is the fact that having a bunch of fans outside a hotel waiting for the celebrity is not an unusual thing. It's actually part of the PR for the celebrity or for the brands that the celebrity is wearing. A lot of PR teams want that and count on that so that the celebrity has more, I guess, presence with their star power. That's why you already have security guards outside because they're expecting it. That's why you already have professional photographers who are ready to take in the moment. It looks good to have a bunch of fans screaming their name. This is not a unique situation to Connor's story. This has happened to so many other celebrities, most famously like the Beatles. There are so many photographs of this happening because that added to their star power. And it seems to be like acceptable, at least for like the hardcore fans that are showing up for this. They know that it's fine. They know that the celebrity is expecting it, and he doesn't seem to, be against it. And if that is the case, then we can all agree that this is fine and normal. Why are we judging Club Chalamet for doing the exact same thing? It is not a crime to be waiting for hours outside to see a celebrity. Whether you think that's a good use of your time is like up to you. Clearly the non-binary Parisian thinks it's fine because they were doing it, so why can't Club Chalamet do it too? I think what makes the Parisian look a little worse in this situation is the fact that this was premeditated. Like, they were live tweeting the moments leading up to the altercation, and other fans were like egging them on to go ahead and confront this person, literally tackling her or, jokingly saying to do more violent things to her. But the fact that not only did this person like take a picture of her and tweet about it, and other people are like speculating about what she's here for and like what should be done to her, goes to show this problem that the internet has with being a surveillance society. It is not normal to be surveilling and monitoring another individual's actions or behavior just for simply existing or for standing around. It all just falls under this culture of being a cop, basically. You're being a cop for like other people and surveilling them and dictating what they can and can't do, and saying that if they do this is morally wrong and they should be punished for it. And maybe the Parisian would have some kind of leg to stand on with trying to moralize Club Chalamet and her dangerous presence being there if it weren't for the fact that they were also there waiting for Connor's story. But don't get it twisted. This is a situation where I think everyone sucks here. And that's where I want to tap into the lore behind Club Chalamet. So this is a person who became infamous on the internet because originally they had an account called Club Chalamet. She started it back in 2018. She's been a longtime fan of Timothy. She has been attending not every event with Timothy, but like pretty frequently. Like, she is a prominent presence in a lot of his like promotional tours, red carpet events, pretty much like any public appearances that he's made. She's really made this like almost like a full-time job. But I think like her account blew up even more because of the ways that she was reacting to her favorite white man now having a girlfriend, but also that girlfriend is like Kylie Jenner, which is like so far from, I think, what fans perceived his persona to be and what his brand to be. She claims that Timothy Chalamet was blackmailed into the relationship, and one of the reasons for that is because this couple was never seen visiting Olive Garden despite Timothy Chalamet liking Italian cuisine. There are also various posts that she's made where anytime she refers to Kylie Jenner, she doesn't refer to her as Kylie or Jenner. She refers to her as a guest or Miss K, or even a nickname called Slurpee. Like, she just refuses to acknowledge this person, and she calls Kylie someone who has a spiritually low IQ. Now, in the most recent years, she has cooled down with her love for Timothy. There are various reasons for why that might be. Part of it could be due to the fact that Timothy has now been dating Kylie Jenner for like several years now. Like, they have been a pretty solid relationship. It's not just been a fling. And also, I think his behavior went against a lot of what people perceive him to be, with, being like a very intellectual, prestigious actor. Like, he would say things that seemed more boastful. He got under hot water for saying no one cares about ballet or opera. I think he was trying really hard to get some accolades during award season, but things didn't really go well for him or something like that. I don't know. I don't really follow Timothy, but the point is, like, he was turning into a person that maybe she didn't think that he should have been. So later you could see her starting to distance herself away from him. At some point, there was a post that said, defending a person and then experiencing why nobody likes them is very humbling. And she replied to that post saying she felt seen by it. And then at some point, she announced that she was taking a step back from the Club Chalamet account. And she said, once I don't fully believe in it anymore, I have to recenter my focus on things I believe in and that make me happy. Then that recentering has now shifted over to Connor's story. It all started with like like this Instagram post of Connor looking hot, she had posted a comment saying Jesus, and that was when the red flags and alarms started signaling to the Heat of Rivalry fandom, where they were like, stay away from him, get a job. But she went ahead and found her new baby boo, and she started a new fan account called Story Glory. There are a lot of tweets that she has made about Connor's story. I can give her some grace because I don't really see it as any different from like other people who are openly thirsting after him. And you know, he's a good looking actor, and part of the fun of being in a fandom is like admiring a very attractive person. There is a tweet that kind of made me cock my head a little bit because of like how weirdly racialized it was to Hudson Williams, who is a half Asian actor, the other main character on the show. So in this tweet, to give you some context before reading it, I believe this was in a discussion that was like about Connor's story versus Hudson Williams, because within the fandom there are some people that only like Connor's story and do not like Hudson Williams, and vice versa. And so the woman previously known as Club Chalamet has tweeted, some types of people just want to bully others to support people that they want people to support. I really think what's at the crux of the people who hate Connor is that they look at him and see someone who has won the lottery in appearance, fair, blonde, blue-green eyes, and level of talent, and they dislike how Connor can so easily lure people and professionals to like him. Also, even they know that Connor is the breakout star of Heat of Rivalry, and that pisses them off because they have made their favorite out to be a victim because he's not considered as blazing hot popularity as Connor, and they think it's racially motivated instead of more based on charisma and talent. Meanwhile, their favorite actor could use more support from his fans to amplify him more positively and in a way that would make him proud, but instead, they're embarrassing him with their reverse racism against the white guy and their twisted, ironic homophobia. So yeah, this is like a weird tweet because she's denying that there could be racist beliefs held against an Asian actor. And she's saying that reverse racism exists here. And this reverse racism is specifically targeted against Connor's story. And because he's like a traditionally attractive white man with blue-green eyes, that's why they're hating on him. So it's kind of like a weird leap of logic to make there, especially considering the fact that she is a black woman. There's obviously some internalized stuff going on here, both like for race and gender, for her to be talking about women and people of color this way. She's also said so many terrible things, like what sympathies I had remaining for Palestinians have completely evaporated today. Pro-Hamas supporters have shut down the freeway in downtown LA. Shameful. Why don't they go to Gaza and protest right there in that mess? Nothing is ever that easy, re-Gaza. These are professional victims and people in need of anger management. The goalpost is constantly shifted for Hamas, Gaza, Palestinians, and the empathy is all performative theatrics from them. When J.K. Rowling said yet another transphobic thing, Simone quote tweeted saying, "Those of you following me know where I stand on this issue, and in light of continued attacks against her, most recently by a very famous actor whose work I enjoy, Miss Rowling eloquently stated her case yet again." I'm glad Rowling has a significant footprint in the development of this series on Max, regardless of the media's insistence on highlighting her views in a slanted and negative light for algorithms and engagement. So in general, she supports J.K. Rowling's transphobia, she defends Israel during the ongoing genocide of Palestinians, and generally she falls under a lot of rhetoric for far-right propaganda. So while she's having beef with the Heat of Rivalry fandom, they will bring up her tweets to justify their hatred towards her. And that is so valid to not like someone for the reprehensible things that they've said. But these tweets do get brought up when justifying the confrontation that happened in Paris. I'm not going to be defending Club Chalamet because I absolutely do not agree with any of the things that she said, and if anything, that makes me sympathize for her even less because she clearly doesn't give a shit about so many other things besides white men, and only if those white men are gay, because God forbid they date a woman and that woman will be called low IQ. All of that aside, I don't believe that those tweets being brought up to justify this confrontation are in good faith. I feel like it is more so a moral pretense, and you don't really give a shit about Palestinians. Like, you confronting her and calling her a bitch and trying to accost her is not because you give a shit about what Palestinians are going through. You just feel threatened that she is going near baby boy Connor's story. Like, that's really the issue here. Also, when someone has shitty takes on the internet, the best thing to do is to just ignore them, especially given the fact that she's not a person in power. She doesn't have the kind of influence the same way that J.K. Rowling does or the same way that politicians do. She is just a stan, but she would not have the platform that she does if people just simply ignored her. Then she would just disappear and just like talk to a wall. And one of the reasons why I wish the Nonbinary Parisian had not put their Twitter account under private is because among the long tweet thread that they had posted, they use very specific rhetoric about Club Chalamet and describing her actions and existence as something that seems aggressive and dangerous. That kind of rhetoric from a white person living in Paris is racially charged. So we're going to try to do some moral grandstanding by implying that this person deserves it because they tweeted some shitty politics that are misogynistic and racist and transphobic. Then what does it mean for a white person in Paris to be attacking a nearly 60-year-old black woman? Like, this is shitty all around, you know? But at the same time, I don't really hold much sympathy for her considering the vile stuff that she's tweeted and the fact that she perpetuates the same thing that she is facing against but seems to be oblivious to that fact. Basically, I think this incident is a prime example of how fandoms can be like a snake eating itself. And I think Heated Rivalry is a specific type of messiness when it comes to fandom. There are rumors that he is dating another actor on Heated Rivalry. That actor is 41 years old. Connor's Story is 26 years old. And so the older actor got a lot of backlash from fans who were calling him a groomer and a pedophile because he dared to date a 26-year-old man. To which I wonder, for as much as you're enjoying these stories about gay men on your television screen, are you friends with any gay men? I personally am not gonna side-eye a 26-year-old man for his dating choices. He's not like a baby boy who's so helpless and being groomed by his co-actor. But unfortunately, that actor has been harassed and been left so many negative comments on his social media to the point where he's had to like shut down his comments sometimes. So again, this perpetuates this weird surveillance society that fandoms seem to really hone in on, where they are not only policing how other fans should operate, but they're also policing how celebrities should operate and their own relationships. It got to the point where the actors and the director of the show had to come out with statements denouncing the racism, the misogyny, the toxicity of the fandom. And it just makes me sympathize a lot for the people involved because I think it's a really great show. I think it shows like the power of combining fujoshi women's storytelling and a gay man's direction and artistic vision. I do want to point out that I don't think fandoms or being parasocial are necessarily a bad thing. I actually think that it can bring a lot of joy to be part of a fandom, or, you know, it could just be fun to be parasocial with like a celebrity or a person that you admire. Where it goes wrong is like when things get taken too far, right? And so now we are in a very tricky area where, again, I think fandoms are really great. I think that they have created so many wonderful things thanks specifically to fangirl culture and to fandoms. We have so many great books from there. We have a lot of great careers of people that wouldn't have existed without fans themselves. And there have been a lot of meaningful friendships and relationships that have been born because of fandoms. I feel like I've experienced a lot of benefits from that as someone who, you know, is not like a real celebrity, but on like a smaller scale as a YouTuber, there have been jokes a lot of times between like commenters and I that we are fueling a parasocial relationship. But I actually like tearing down those walls because I've made so many wonderful friends from people that I've met through my YouTube channel. I've met my girlfriend through the internet, and from being in the book community online, I've made so many friends in real life that I still hang out with on a regular basis because of the book community online and because they followed me on YouTube. I've traveled with them. I've went to their weddings. Like, I truly do believe that parasocial relationships can be fun. In my case, they can transform into like real relationships and real friendships. And I think fandoms can be fun because, again, they create so many wonderful things. I think, unfortunately, what you hear in the news and what you see online are the loudest voices. The downside of it is that it creates such a messy circus of judgment and surveillance and internalized and externalized misogyny and racism. And I just think it's a shame because, again, I think there are so many great benefits to fandom culture, but people are just acting out of pocket. Those are basically like my 2 cents on the kind of culture that we have cultivated. And I send all my thoughts and prayers to the Heated Rivalry actors and director and anyone involved in like that production because they really got a long road ahead of them. And I hope that they have a good support group. And I really just hope that everyone involved has a good support group. I think that it's so important to like take a step away from this kind of stuff and just realize like what the right priorities are and like just chill. At the end of the day, we should be excited that there is a great culturally relevant piece of media that shows gay love between men, especially in an environment where that's so often repressed. I think that is really wonderful, and I think that's part of the cultural zeitgeist that can have a positive influence I think that we just also need to better manage the negative downsides of it. Whether you're involved in fandoms or not, what do you think about this whole situation? And do you see it improving? Do you see any kind of like solutions for how we can like better manage it? Let me know, and I'll see you next time for like the next messiness that happens, I guess. I'm just happy that any kind of parasocialism that I engage with is a safe, happy environment where we're just a bunch of queer nerds. So with that in mind, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.